welcome to Change Happens, a weekly gathering of things that I found entertaining, informative, or thoughtful as I made my way through the digital cave that is the interweb.
All right, here we go. Change Happens, Volume 108. Have a great day. Find your way. December 22nd, 2024. December 22nd, an incredibly important day for a magical savage and for me. A beautiful day. From the walls of the digital cave. Hi. To see or not to see? Where lies the greater fear? I met a wolf once. By met, I mean we stared at each other while comfortably separated. For me, a magnificent encounter with a mythical beast of the wild. For him, something not belonging had strayed into his sight. With nothing much to say, we carried on the day. It never occurred to me to be afraid. Sunny days in the woods with freshly fallen snow are not disposed to fear, so I was not. However, a kraken unseen, big or small, from nearly by in any woods, is a momentarily terrifying thing not to see. On this, the wolf and I agree. Change Happens is brought to you by Hyperventilating the Podcast. A father and a daughter discuss matters. Hyperventilating the Podcast, entertaining, thoughtful, and informative. Join us every Wednesday. The sum of our parts. Headline: Humans may not have survived without Neanderthals. From the article. Far from triumphantly breezing out of Africa, modern humans went extinct many times before going on to populate the world, new studies have revealed. The new DNA research has also shed new light on the role our Neanderthal cousins played in our success. While these early humans were long seen as a species which we successfully dominated after leaving Africa, new studies show that only humans who interbred with Neanderthals went on to thrive, while other bloodlines died out. It seems that we, Homo sapiens, and Neanderthals share much in common. Our long-ago shared ancestor was, most likely, Homo erectus. Homo sapiens evolved in Africa, and Neanderthals evolved outside of Africa. Our people made several forays into Europe that ended in extinction. It was only after we interbred with the Neanderthals that we finally survived out of Africa. And even that was after a final extinction event that included us, Neanderthals, Denisovans, all the bipeds. It was with the Neanderthal DNA that we finally prevailed. We know this because now we can read genetic code from the bones. From the bones, we know our past. Reading the past. Headline: The Rosetta Stone unlocked the secrets of ancient Egypt. From the article. Contrary to popular misconception, the Rosetta Stone isn't a trilingual text, it's a bilingual one with 3 separate scripts. Think of the hieroglyphs as a complicated form of calligraphy and the demotic text as ordinary letters. Both are written in ancient Egyptian, but they look so different that observers initially thought they represented different languages. You've got to think back to before it was discovered. All we knew about the ancient world was Greece, Rome, and the Bible. We knew there were big civilizations like Egypt, but they'd fallen silent. With the cracking of the Rosetta Stone, they could speak with their own voice, and suddenly whole areas of history were revealed. A great article on the deciphering of the Rosetta Stone, and what it represents historically and for the furthering of our understanding of ancient cultures. It was an enormous undertaking and a game-changing discovery. Essentially, it was the nerds of 200 years ago poring over the text as if a puzzle and eventually solving it. The text itself is mundane admin blather and glad-handing to the king. The value was as the key to unlock another text that had much to say. The Robot's First Words. Headline: A series of mysterious bleeps and bloops defined the early days of the internet. From the article. Once upon a time, going into the internet was a journey through sound. Before all our phones were online all the time, before there were Wi-Fi connections in houses, planes, libraries, and coffee shops, we were logged off before we made the conscious decision to log on. Doing so meant listening to the familiar dial tones, then a series of mysterious bleeps and bloops, and finally a loud staticky crash that sounded like a radio stuck between stations, if you remember that sound too. This is an oddly joyful article about modems and the squeaking, squawking, and buzzing noises they made and why they made them. I'd never really considered before how a modem worked. I just knew that it made noise, and if everything went as planned, at the end of the noise, I'd have access to the weirdness that was the interweb. The word modem stands for modulation, demodulation, which is the process of translating the data to sound and back. The modem transmits a stream of digital information, ones and zeros, the bits and bytes that still make up the flow of information today, over a telephone line. It does that using different sounds and then translating those sounds back to digital information in your computer. The robot was chatty back in the day. December 18, 1865. The 13th Amendment. Slavery abolished. Down a wiki rabbit hole. Though 3 million Confederate slaves were eventually freed as a result of Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, their post-war status was uncertain. To ensure that abolition was beyond legal challenge, an amendment to the Constitution to that effect was drafted. On April 8, 1864, the Senate passed an amendment to abolish slavery. After one unsuccessful vote and extensive legislative maneuvering by the Lincoln administration, the House followed suit on January 31, 1865. The measure was swiftly ratified by nearly all northern states, along with a sufficient number of border states up to the assassination of President Lincoln. However, the approval came via his successor, President Andrew Johnson, who encouraged the reconstructed southern states of Alabama, North Carolina, and Georgia to agree, which brought the count to 27 states, leading to its adoption before the end of 1865. Very weird things. Headline: What would happen to the human body moving at near light speed? From the article. In science fiction, spaceships moving at or beyond light speed enable all manner of universal exploration. But in earthbound reality, traveling at the speed of light, 299,792,458 meters per second, or 670,616,629 miles per hour in a vacuum, in a clunky rocket is a physical impossibility. It's the speed at which massless things travel, says Gerd Kortemeyer, an associate professor emeritus of physics at Michigan State University. So anything with a mass cannot reach that speed, and even massless particles are limited by light speed. It's often called the cosmic speed limit because nothing will go faster than that, Kortemeyer says. Very much a post for the nerds. Nerds are people too. A nice explanation of not only why traveling at the speed of light isn't possible, but what may happen if we pretended it was possible. If you have never considered that the Earth is orbiting the Sun at 30 kilometers per second, while our solar system orbits the Milky Way at 225 kilometers per second, and the Milky Way is itself moving at a leisurely 40 kilometers per second within our local group of galaxies, while that local group itself is ripping along at 603 kilometers per second toward the Virgo cluster, at which is 45 million light years away, then I don't know what to tell you. We're moving fast, always. Inside working hard. Headline: Foundational facts about the liver. You may not think much of your liver, hidden as it is deep inside your body, unless you over-imbibe at a party. But your liver runs multiple functions on your behalf to keep you healthy. Not only is it your largest internal organ, it is in charge of hundreds of bodily processes ranging from fighting infections to manufacturing proteins and hormones to helping your blood clot. With Christmas and New Year's right around the corner, it seems like a good time to have a refresher on the liver. The liver serves a multitude of purposes way beyond processing booze. Its main job is to act as a blood filter, a detoxifier of chemicals, and a metabolizer of drugs. An interior workhorse. Odd that we can name all these organs, but often don't really know what they do. Seems like a good time of the year to get reacquainted if you were already acquainted, and if you have never been acquainted, then here we are. How we left the sea. Headline: Meet the mudskipper, the remarkable fish that lives on land. From the article, the mudskipper is a small fish that can leap with a flick of its tail. Watch one particularly agile specimen in action here as he overcomes serious obstacles to find his mate, bring her home, and start a family. Generally, I don't include articles that are basically video only and change happens, but this is worth watching for the awesome weirdness that is a mudskipper. If you've ever had any trouble believing that we evolved out of the sea to become what we are now, this will help you make the leap. Watching this creature rip across the land on adventures is really something to behold. It's a fish that's using its fins to walk, on land. Plus, it's a love story. The point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then, gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. Rainer Maria Rilke. Alright, there you go. I hope there's something of value in there. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
When we meet again inside the spectacular human repository of everything and nothing, it's your life. You understand.